Joseph was a very special boy who lived in Bible times. Jacob, his father, loved Joseph very much, so much that he had a beautiful coat made for his son, a coat of many colors. Joseph's 9 brothers became very jealous to see the youngest member of their family become such a favorite to his father. One night, Joseph had a special dream. Joseph dreamed he and his brothers were harvesting grain. The grain the brothers harvested all bowed down to the grain Joseph harvested. He suddenly awakened, as one often does from a strange dream, and wondered if the dream had some special meaning. He went to his brothers and told them about the dream. "We were all harvesting grain," he said, "and the strangest thing happened. All of your bundles of grain bowed down to my 1 bundle of grain." Joseph loved his brothers and wanted them to help him understand the dream. But Joseph's brothers didn't like what they heard. "Who does he think he is? Does he think he's going to rule over us someday?" Another night, Joseph dreamed about the moon and 12 stars. The moon and 11 of those stars bowed down to his star. Joseph knew the second dream must be very important, perhaps even more important than the first dream. This time, Joseph went to his father and told him what had happened. And even his father was a little bit unhappy, which of course pleased those jealous brothers very much. "Do you mean to say your mother and I are going to bow down to you?" the father asked. "Be careful, son." Joseph became sad because he really wanted to know what the dreams meant. Jacob was a rich man. He owned many sheep. One time, when his older sons were looking after his sheep at a camp many miles away, he said to Joseph, "Go to your brothers and see if all is well with them. Then come back and tell me." It pleased Joseph whenever he could do something for his father, because he loved his father very much. He also enjoyed traveling to different and interesting places. "Look who's coming," said one of the brothers, "the dreamer." Even as the boy approached the camp, his brothers decided among themselves that they must do something about this younger brother who made them so jealous. "I'll tell you what we can do. We can kill him." "Oh, we mustn't do that," one of the brothers protested. His name was Reuben. "Let's throw him into that pit," someone suggested. And so as Joseph rode into the camp on his donkey, his brothers grabbed him. "So you think you're better than we are, do you?" "Oh, no," Joseph exclaimed. "I don't think that at all." "We don't think so either, do we?" the brothers cried out. "No, we don't," agreed the others. Proud of themselves because of what they had done, their hearts full of jealousy and evil, the other 11 brothers decided to have some food. But even while they were eating, some merchants from a place called Midian came toward them. "Look who's coming," exclaimed one of the brothers. "What good is it for our young brother to starve to death in that pit, when we could sell him as a slave to these merchants?" So they took Joseph out of the pit and sold him to the merchants for 20 pieces of silver. That's a little bit like what happened to the Lord Jesus, isn't it? Judas betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver. My, how proud those brothers were as the merchants took Joseph away. Think how foolish it would have been to let him die in that pit when we can have all this money instead. Reuben, the one who kept Joseph from being killed, had gone away to look after some of the sheep. "What has happened to Joseph?" Reuben asked. Deep in his heart, Reuben loved his little brother very much. "We didn't want him to die any more than you do, so we sold him to some merchants." Reuben knew his brothers had done a terrible thing. Selling the young boy into slavery was just as bad as killing him. "I've got an idea," called out one of the brothers. "Let's put some blood on his coat and take it to our father. We'll tell him Joseph was killed by a wild animal." Great sadness came to the father's heart as his sons told him Joseph had been killed. Jacob loved his son dearly. Not in all his lifetime, and he was now an old man, had such pain and sorrow come to his heart. The brothers, of course, were pleased to see how well their plan worked. Some of them pretended that they were just as sorry as their father was, although of course they knew Joseph wasn't dead at all. No, the boy Joseph was not dead. The merchants took him to Egypt. There they sold him to a man named Potiphar. The boy became a slave. The more Potiphar watched Joseph, the more he could see how Joseph had God's special blessing upon him. So Potiphar put Joseph in charge of all the other slaves in his house. Ah, yes, Potiphar told himself, I was very wise when I bought this boy from those merchants. Potiphar's wife was also pleased with Joseph, but in a very evil kind of way. She tried to get Joseph to kiss her, but he pulled away from her and ran out of the house. This made Mrs. Potiphar very angry. Who did that young slave think he was, treating her this way? She lied to her husband and said, that slave came and made fun of me. See, he left his coat. This made Potiphar very angry. He was pleased with Joseph, but no slave must be allowed to do such things. The angry man had the boy thrown into prison, which of course pleased Mrs. Potiphar very much. Joseph was so full of kindness. Of course, that was because his heart was full of God's love. Oh yes, Joseph loved God very much, even though he couldn't understand why so many bad things had happened to him. The man in charge of the prison was so pleased with Joseph, he put him in charge of all the other prisoners. You probably remember that the king of Egypt was called Pharaoh. Well, for some reason, Pharaoh became angry at his butler and his baker. So he had them put into the same prison where Joseph was. One night, each of the men, Pharaoh's butler and his baker, had a bad dream. When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw their faces full of worry. What's wrong? Joseph asked. I had a very bad dream, said the butler. So did I, said the baker, and we don't know what our dreams mean. Only God can tell the meaning of your dreams, said Joseph. Tell me what you saw in your dreams, and I will ask God to give us the meaning. Let me tell you my dream, said the butler. I dreamed about a vine which had 3 branches. Each branch had a flower. Each of these 3 flowers turned into 3 big bunches of grapes. I was holding Pharaoh's cup in my hands. I took the grapes and squeezed the juice from them. Then I gave this juice to Pharaoh, and he was very pleased. Can you tell the meaning of my dream? Joseph asked God to tell him the meaning of the butler's dream. The 3 branches are 3 days, Joseph said. In just 3 days, Pharaoh will take you out of his prison and let you work for him again. What about my dream? Asked the baker. What does it mean? I dreamed I had 3 baskets of bread which I had baked for Pharaoh. Birds came and ate the bread. What does that mean? You too shall be taken from the prison in 3 days. I will be set free like the butler? No, said Joseph. Pharaoh will hang you by the neck from a tree. If I can help you in any way when I get out of prison, said the butler, I surely will. But when the butler returned to the king's palace, to the palace of the Egyptian Pharaoh, he forgot all about Joseph. He was selfish, thinking only of what he wanted. And so Joseph remained in prison for 2 more years, 2 long and lonely years. He wondered if he would be kept in prison for the rest of his life. Now it was Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, who began to have dreams, dreams which greatly frightened him. Pharaoh called in his magicians, men who were supposed to be able to tell the meaning of dreams, but not one of them could tell the meaning of any of Pharaoh's bad dreams. We're sorry, the magicians cried out, but we cannot tell you the meaning of your dreams. Then the butler remembered Joseph. So he came to Pharaoh and said, I know someone who can tell you the meaning of your dreams. Pharaoh asked for Joseph to be brought to the palace. So you are the one who can tell me the meaning of my dreams. I cannot tell you, Joseph said. Only the true God can tell us the meaning. I dreamed about 7 fat cows, Pharaoh told Joseph. Then in my dream 7 evil cows came and ate up the fat cows. The evil animals became terrible creatures. Whatever can be the meaning of such a terrible dream? I had another dream. There was a stalk of grain with 7 bunches. Each bunch was full of good grain. But then there were 7 bad stalks, which came up and ate all the good grain. Even as Pharaoh told about the dream of the cows, he was frightened. The 2 dreams have one meaning. The 7 cows and the 7 stalks of good grain speak of 7 good years in Egypt. During those 7 years, the land will grow much grain, but after that will come 7 bad years. So this is what you should do. You need someone to help the farmers during the 7 good years, Joseph said. You will be that person, exclaimed Pharaoh. And right then he put Joseph in charge of all the farmers of Egypt. Pharaoh put a special ring on Joseph's finger. Anyone seeing the ring would know Joseph was a special officer from the palace. Pharaoh also introduced Joseph to a beautiful young lady named Asenath, and she became his wife. Yes, Joseph became a great man in Egypt. He helped the farmers grow lots of food during those next 7 years, carefully storing the extra grain away so there would be plenty to eat when the bad years came. And the bad years came, 7 years of no rain. Far away in Canaan, where Joseph's father and brothers lived, there was no food. But I've heard there's plenty of food in Egypt, Jacob told his sons. Go and see if you can buy some of it. We will ask God to take care of you, added Benjamin, the youngest in the family. After several weeks had passed, the old man and the boy began watching every day for the return of the travelers. And then, one day, smiles came to Jacob's troubled face. His sons were returning. Jacob's happiness didn't last very long, though, because as he greeted his sons, he saw that Simeon was not with them. Where is he? He asked. Has he been killed by wild beasts, even as my beloved son Joseph was killed? The 10 brothers who had gone to Egypt told their father what had happened. We were taken to the governor of Egypt. He was a very rough man, and he looked at us strangely, almost as if he knew us. I suppose it was because we were foreigners. We told the governor we were the sons of a man in Canaan, that there were 12 sons, the youngest at home with you, the other dead. But the governor accused us of being spies. Of course, none of the 10 men realized that the governor of Egypt was none other than their brother Joseph. Why didn't Simeon return? Jacob asked. The governor arrested him and put him in prison, was the answer. As the brothers left Egypt, they told their father, the governor, who was really Joseph, remember, said that they must bring Benjamin back to prove that they were honest and not spies. Only then could Simeon be set free. But the governor of Egypt did send grain with us, Jacob's sons told him. We were permitted to take as much as we could carry. Let us show you. Then something very, very surprising happened. As each of the 10 brothers opened his sack of grain, he found money, which had been given to the governor of Egypt to buy that grain. What does this mean? Jacob asked. Why has the money been returned? We don't know, the brother named Reuben said. Maybe God is bringing judgment on us for what we did to Joseph, Reuben whispered to his brother. Perhaps Simeon will never be returned, and the governor of Egypt is only playing a trick on us. As the weeks passed, the sacks of grain grew smaller and smaller. Soon all of it would be gone. One day, Reuben came to Jacob, his father, and said, We must return to Egypt for more grain. May we take Benjamin with us? Oh, no. Benjamin is all I have left. But the governor said we must bring him. But I lost my young son Joseph, Jacob said, almost becoming angry. I must not lose Benjamin as well. Jacob saw how sincere Reuben was, and he believed Reuben was telling the truth. So he finally gave his permission for Benjamin to go. You must be sure to return the money to the governor, Jacob added, and also bring a gift to him. When they reached Egypt, the brothers did as Jacob their father had told them to do. They tried to give back the money, but Joseph's assistant said, God must have put the money into your sacks. Keep it. Not only were Jacob's sons to keep the money, but their brother Simeon was released from jail. And then, oh, how excited they were. The brothers were brought in to once again see the governor of Egypt. They still did not know who he was, that he was really their own brother Joseph, whom they had sold into slavery years before. Very nervous, not sure what would happen, they gave to the governor of Egypt, to their brother Joseph that is, the gift which Jacob, their father and Joseph's father, had sent with them. "O great governor of Egypt," one of them may have said, "here's a small gift which Jacob our father asked us to bring to you." "How is your father, the old man of whom you speak?" the governor asked. "Is he yet alive?" "Our father is well," they replied. Much love came into Joseph's heart as he saw Benjamin. "This is the younger brother we told you about," Reuben said. "His name is Benjamin." So great was the love in Joseph's heart for his young brother Benjamin that he had to turn away so the visitors from the land of Canaan would not see his tears. Reuben and Benjamin could not understand why the governor of Egypt had turned away from them. But of course they had no idea he was their brother Joseph, who had been so terribly mistreated when he was Benjamin's age. What really surprised the visitors was when the governor invited them to have dinner with him. The brothers especially noticed how much attention the governor gave to their young brother Benjamin. Then, when everyone was busy eating, because the food was so very, very good, Joseph got an idea. He called to his assistant and whispered, "Fill the sacks of these visitors with grain, as much as they can carry, and put everyone's money back into his sack, and put my cup into the sack of the young boy named Benjamin." So Joseph's assistant took the cup, just as Joseph, the governor of Egypt, told him to do. Then he had each of the sacks filled with grain, just as full as he could possibly fill them. And, as Governor Joseph instructed, once again put into the sacks the money the men from the land of Canaan had paid for the grain. The 11 sons of Jacob began their journey from Egypt back to the land of Canaan, back to Jacob their father. You can be sure Benjamin's heart beat with excitement. But then the travelers heard something. Someone coming in the distance. "It's Egyptian soldiers," one of the brothers cried out. "Why are they following us?" "The governor sent us after you," said the leader of the soldiers. "You have stolen money and treasure from the governor's house." "We have taken nothing," the brothers said. "Let any thief among us be killed, and we become your slaves if you find anything stolen." Of course, the soldiers did find Egyptian money, many gold coins of great value. "So they are thieves," cried out the soldiers. "No, no," the brothers insisted. "Then where did all this money come from?" "We don't know." The soldiers looked into Benjamin's things. They not only found gold coins, but they found the governor's cup. "I didn't steal it," Benjamin cried out. "Then why do you have the governor's cup?" "I don't know," Benjamin answered. "I don't know." "We're taking this boy prisoner," said the Egyptians. "All of you are prisoners. You must return to Egypt." Joseph, the governor of Egypt, pretended to be very angry when his brothers were brought before him. "I will keep the young boy you call Benjamin," he said. "And the rest of you may return to your father in the land of Canaan." "Oh, no, please, Your Honor," the brother named Judah pleaded. "It will kill our father if Benjamin does not return with us." Joseph's heart was touched as Judah pleaded for Benjamin's freedom. He not only told the brothers they could all go back to Jacob their father, but he said, "Your young brother Joseph is not dead. You sold him as a slave to some merchants. He came to Egypt with these merchants. God has been good to your brother." Then, to the great surprise of his brothers, Joseph said, "I am your brother. I am the one you sold into slavery. I am the one your father thinks is dead. Joseph told his brothers he forgave them for their great sin. Now they understood why he had shown them so much kindness and why he had such love for young Benjamin. When Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, heard what had happened, he was very happy. He sent Joseph's family back to the land of Canaan with many wagons of food and gifts, and told them to come and live in Egypt. Jacob could hardly believe his ears when he heard the news about Joseph, his son, the governor of Egypt. Just as soon as they could, Jacob and his 11 sons began their journey back to Egypt. Can you imagine how happy Joseph and his father Jacob were when they saw each other again? And when Joseph's father Jacob was introduced to the king, he prayed, asking God to give a special blessing to Pharaoh for his kindness to the family. How wonderfully God had looked after the family. And the reason God did it was because Jacob the father and Joseph his son had put their trust in him, just as you and I can do.